There's a brand new buzzword around the UFO community, gaslighting. It is so widely used now by multiple outlets and multiple people within the UFO space that it is becoming like the term bombshell. It doesn't really mean a lot right now. Alright, so although it does kind of carry a bit of weight and it is a great term to use to emphasize a point that you're trying to make. So we heard Jeremy Corbell. No, not Jeremy Corbell. We heard Ross Coulthart use it recently, and I made a video on it yesterday where he stated that the government of the United States are attempting to gaslight the people, right? And now we're hearing it again from multiple different people with regards to a Wall Street Journal article that has just dropped that was titled "The Pentagon Disinformation That Fueled America's UFO Mythology." We're going to talk about that and also some comments from George Knapp with regards to the entire UAP topic and how things have progressed to kind of see where things go, right? So let's talk about it, right? So the Wall Street Journal have just dropped this brand new article. It came out on June 6th of 2025, and it claims that the United States military fabricated UFO, now commonly referred to as UAP, stories to conceal secret weapon programs such as stealth aircraft development, and it also details how the Pentagon since the 1950s has spread fake photos and narratives, including surrounding Area 51 to mislead the public and even its own personnel. And the article cites investigations by the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, otherwise known as ARROW, which was established in 2022, which uncovered practices like showing doctored UFO images to officers as part of the hazing rituals. And it suggests that many significant UAP incidents, including the 1967 Malmstrom Air Force Base event, were nuclear missiles that went offline during a reported UFO sighting and can be explained as misidentifications, pranks, or tests such as Cold War era electromagnetic pulses and experiments. Now, obviously, the first thing that's glaring to me in that sense is the whole idea of pranks. Like, who the fuck turns off nuclear warheads as a prank? Like, to me, that doesn't come across as shits and giggles, I'm not going to lie to you, but I guess people can be weird. Now, of course, critics have got their hands on this and have absolutely run with the narrative, particularly from the New Paradigm Institute and the UFO advocacy communities, and they have argued that the article is part of a Pentagon-led disinformation campaign to try and gaslight the public, and that term gaslight has been used broadly across the board, right? Everyone's saying like this is just a gaslighting tactic to try and misidentify or divert attention away from the topic at hand. And they contend that while the article actually admits to historical deception, it dismisses credible modern evidence and whistleblower accounts, framing all UAP events as explainable or potentially fabricated. Now, obviously, that would kind of pinpoint to people like David Grush, Matthew Brown, who's come out recently, Sands, who else have we had? I guess Bob Lazar as well to a degree, Jeremy Corbell, who's not a whistleblower per se, he's more of a journalist, but, I guess he falls within that category as well. A lot of those names I've listed off, you'd probably be like, well, I don't think they're credible. I don't think they're credible for X, Y, and Z reasons. But ultimately, you can't please them all. You have to list them off. Now, there are a lot of things. Now, however, the article's narrative aligns with skeptics who argue that the UAP hype stems from government disinformation and social contagion, with no evidence of extraterrestrial activity per ARROW's 2024 report, if that is actually to be believed. Let's not forget that ARROW is also an offshoot of government and the Pentagon, so they aren't exactly going to give hardcore evidence. But like I say, this was the whole spiel that the Wall Street Journal delivered, and over on Reddit, people are already stating, using the Wall Street Journal, the Pentagon is gaslighting the public on UFOs and UAPs. Again, Congress must launch a formal investigation into the Pentagon's UFO and UAP disinformation campaign. Interesting stuff. And then there's a whole spiel down here about basically showing the article itself. It is very interesting, to say the very least. But moving on from that, we've got hosts of the I've forgotten the name of their podcast, George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell, Weaponized, the Weaponized podcast, who spoke to News Nation, and the anchor is essentially asking them about, have we really progressed forward with regards to the UAP topic, or are we still a very long way off from actually having that full kind of disclosure? And interestingly, they had some good points to make.
Well, let me ask you this, George. When you are looking at the state of play right now, do you believe we've made progress? And what's your biggest question going forward?
Well, we have made progress since that New York Times story 2017. Congress has shown it's interested in the topic after being hands off for more than 50 years. Major media at least dabbled in it for a while, now have pulled back. The academic community has come forward. Some people have stepped forward bravely and said, we want to look into this. So, yeah, there's progress being made. But, you know, the keepers of the secrets, the folks who are manipulated this topic for almost 80 years now, are better at their job, I would dare say, than you and I and Jeremy are at ours. They have a lot of tools at their disposal. We've seen some of it come out in the last couple of days in national media accounts that muddy the waters, that confuse the public. They've admitted what we've all known for a long time, that they've lied to the American public, that they've lied to Congress. Now we know they've lied to their own military personnel, made up stories.
Now, obviously, they are referring to the Wall Street Journal article that just came out, which is why I wanted to cover that and then this, because then it adds a little bit of context to what he's saying here.
Propaganda, it's disgraceful. But now a lot of it is out in the open, so I would call that progress.
Jeremy, I was crestfallen when the Trump administration came in and they had told us, we're going to tell you what Biden wouldn't tell you, and then they gave us the same answer about what was in the air over the military bases and other places on the East Coast and elsewhere. How do you explain that?
I don't even attempt to explain that. I just know that the true transparency on this topic is going to obviously come through good journalism. And that's what George and I are focused on, is bringing forward whistleblowers like Matthew Brown and the Immaculate Constellation information, as well as just bringing forward, if we're lucky enough, military film footage of UAP. This is what we've been doing. We believe this to be the path forward. I'm not going to rely on anybody else to help us move this ball forward. I just think the public needs to fight for it.
George, when you look at this issue as a function of transparency, you say the people who are the keepers of the secrets, these days they use the word deep state. In these years of researching this, what is your best reckoning of who we're up against and what they're about?
It's a combination of Department of Defense folks, intelligence agencies, defense contractors. I think it's probably a small group of the people that really know what's going on, and even they probably don't know the big picture. You know, Jeremy and I have been pretty far up the food chain over the years, me even longer than him, and I have never met anyone who really knows the true story. I've run into a lot of people whose job it is to confuse the public, to muddy the waters, to slip out propaganda, as we've seen over the past couple of days and over many years. You know, I don't know what the big answers are. Like you, Chris, I'm not expecting to meet aliens. I don't believe in aliens. I was attracted to this story because of the paper trail of documents, memos, reports that were shared within the Department of Defense and CIA and other agencies before the Freedom of Information Act became the law. And in those reports, it shows they were saying, hey, this is real. It's not imaginary. It's not fictitious. It's real. It's not us. It's from somewhere else. We need to figure it out because there are national security issues involved. 1953, the Robertson panel gets together for CIA. They spend 6 hours over 2 days looking at UFO evidence, and they decide UFOs are not a threat to national security, but the reporting of UFOs is a threat, and we need to strip it of its aura of mystery. We need to debunk it. We need to use ridicule, and that's pretty much been the policy of the U.S. government ever since, and it ticks me off. It's what got me hooked on the topic. They're telling the public one thing. They're saying something behind closed doors to themselves that is far different, and it makes me angry.
And Jeremy, this was part of our bond, right? Is that when I first came to News Nation and I started reporting on this, media came after me about it. They'd mock me. They'd say, oh, man, he's doing anything he can to get ratings. And as George just said, I'm not looking to meet little green men. I mean, I'm open to it. The arrogance of thinking that this is the only planet in a universe that is constantly expanding. You know, I think there's an arrogance in that, to believe we're the only ones that figured out carbon-based life. But let's put that to the side. They think they don't have to tell us what they know. And to me, it's a metaphor for what we've seen in so much of government in recent years.
It's way more sinister than that. It's not just that they don't think that they need to tell the truth. They're intentionally muddying the waters with misinformation and disinformation. If you looked at the ridiculous and sinister Wall Street Journal report, then we're supposed to believe that we didn't need a Manhattan Project to win the war. We didn't need the Apollo mission to put us into space because this is all some sort of government cover-up. The new conspiracy, Chris, is that UFOs are not real. That's the new conspiracy, the baseless conspiracy.
George, what do we need to know?
Well, one thing we know is they're never going to give this up. I mean, it's pretty clear. These recent reports that have been issued by Arrow and now the repeated media statements by the former Arrow staffers, there's nothing to it. There's no information. There's no proof. It's stuff that we made up. It's disinformation that we spread out there. We created the story about Area 51. We created the story about nukes being disabled. That's all us. All the technology that people have been seeing in the skies around the world on every culture, every continent, throughout human history, that's us. It's preposterous. It's ridiculous. There's no way we could ever accept it. But Arrow has made it clear they are not going to give this up. They're not even giving it up to Congress. I admire the people who've been pushing the ball down the field in Congress, but they've been manipulated on this topic as well. There's always something more pressing for members of Congress, for the public, you know, a job, your mortgage payment, your family, bills for Congress. There's Ukraine, there's Gaza, there's the stuff in LA that's unfolding right now. Always something more pressing than UFOs. So the people who tell these lies get away with it.
I have the same question for both of you. And by the way, you know, everybody in common parlance now uses Area 51. That was George Knapp that brought that into the recognition of the rest of us. George, if you were to meet the man, okay, in quotes, and the person who knows, what would be the three things that you would want answers to?
I'd like to know ultimately where they're from and what their intentions are regarding us. Are they interested in us? Are they where they're from? Are they interested in us or the planet more than us? Number two is, why the secrecy? I mean, I could see it in 1947. We just come out of World War II. The world's a mess. Do you need to share that with the public and tell them there's another intelligence more advanced than us? Why the secrecy now, though? You know, number three, if the technology is being tested in secret in some hangar somewhere, what do we need to get it done? Can we ever master it? And are the national security implications legit? Because there is a race for this technology. Us, the Russians, the Chinese, maybe the Israelis. How do we ever separate the UFO technology from national security concerns that would allow some president to step up to a microphone and say, we've been lying to you, here's the truth?
Now, obviously, that's a really interesting point, and I can kind of understand it from the point of view of, well, why lie about it now? Well, obviously, you said there, you know, this is just my point of view, of course. You know, this is just from my head, straight off the dome. Obviously, you said there, the world was a mess after World War II, but the world's also a mess right now. I don't think it's ever not been in a mess, so I guess that's probably the thought process is, well, you know, we've got plenty of other pressing things to go on. Is that an excuse for government? Absolutely not. Does that excuse the lies and the manipulation over the years? Absolutely not. Is that, like, what if, like, there's got to be more out there. The evidence and the secrecy and all of the lies kind of suggest that there is so much more to this. But there's also that niggling thought in the back of my head of, what if they're not lying and we truly just... we just don't know about anything? Do I, like, my more logical brain is like, well, there's no chance that that's the case in this ever-expanding universe. The fact that nothing has ever visited us yet just doesn't make sense. I can't even fathom that. But the thought that there is just that 1% of my brain that's like, what if that's actually the case? I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. While you're down there, jump to get the hell out of that like button and subscribe. And until next time, I'll speak to you later. Peace.